Galfix was just in amazement. Vire finally broke his tablet, throwing it against the wall before storming out. But Galfix didn't even notice. He was completely mesmerized by the ships screening toward the fleet. Soon, the dropships began their docking procedures, locking onto the larger vessel's pylons and being brought inside. Eventually, Vire came back, looking defeated but holding a brand new tablet. He just started working again. The Admiral's voice cut through the tension, asking if they were ready for a planetary drop. Galfix eagerly shouted yes, while Vire just grumbled under his breath. Then, the pylons extended out from the ships with the dropships attached. One by one, each dropship released from its docking clamps and began the fiery descent back down to the surface. Galfix and Vire stood there, completely captivated. They couldn't help but admire the sheer simplicity and brutal elegance of the operation unfolding before them. Dropship after dropship, each one perfectly spaced, a testament to military precision. Suddenly, the fleet roared to life, and the ships began their screaming descent back to the planet's surface, leaving fiery trails across the sky. Galfix and Vire watched, mouths agape, as the entire process unfolded. In just 20 short minutes, the Space Force had deployed several hundred dropships. It was an absolutely wild sight, a breathtaking display of efficiency and power that was almost impossible to comprehend. Seeing it in person was a humbling and awe-inspiring experience. It really makes you think about the scale of these interstellar conflicts. The Admiral turned to them, a glint in his eye, asking if they wanted to see a combat landing. Galfix, all too eager, practically shouted yes. Vire, on the other hand, hesitated for a moment before nodding his agreement. He immediately started tapping away on his tablet. Just as he did, the dropships that had just landed started screaming back up from the planet's surface. The Admiral's voice boomed over the coms, ordering a full combat landing. All the dropships aimed for the massive pylons on the sides of the flight pods. But then, at the last second, they all veered away, banking hard towards the landing bays instead. Vire let out a frustrated cry, his fingers flying across the tablet, trying desperately to compensate for the sudden change in their flight path. His probe scrambled to get back on target, just managing to scan the last few ships as they finally touched down. The Admiral looked at Vire's crippled finger joints from tapping so much on his tablet and said, "Why don't we take a small break?" Galfix readily agreed, and just then, Vire collapsed onto the floor in sheer exhaustion. As the ship's medics attended to Vire and his overworked fingers, the Admiral and Galfix stepped out of the command room. Little did they know, the Admiral had more tests up his sleeve, a surprise waiting for both Galfix and Vire. About an hour later, they returned to find Vire already waiting. The Admiral looked at everyone and announced, "Okay, let's continue with the tests." A worried look crossed Vire's face, but Galfix screamed out, "Great, let's continue." The Admiral got on the coms and ordered a combat patrol with dropships and fighter escorts. Suddenly, the dropships reappeared on the pylons, a sight Vire definitely wasn't expecting. He was frantically trying to get the probes over to the pylons. Again, suddenly fighter craft started blasting out of the launch tubes. Vire just lost it, screaming as he desperately tried to get his probes into position. He needed to scan the fighters and the dropships launching at the same time. He started banging on his tablet, trying to force the probes to move faster, to just cooperate for once. But by the time they finally got into the right spot, everything was gone. The fighters, the dropships, all launched. He missed it all. The look of defeat was heavy on his face. Meanwhile, Galfix was having the time of his life, just watching the incredible ballet of spacecraft maneuvering and launching. He really preferred hobnobbing with the refined Admiral over the grunts like the gunnery sergeant. It was just a better class of company, he thought. As the tests wore on, the Admiral finally spoke up. "Well, we've done every test you've requested except for one. Galfex, intrigued, asked, "Oh? And what might that be?" The Admiral smirked. "We still haven't tried sneaking in." Galfex burst out laughing. "You're right, Vire. Set up for that test. How hard can it be? How can you possibly hide an entire fleet of warships?" Vire cringed and muttered, "Yes, sir," before grumbling to himself, "Don't put it past the humans. They'll find a way." The Admiral gave the order, and the ships began to move into position. As the fleet vanished from sight, Vire started deploying the probes, his nervousness growing by the second. Galfex, on the other hand, was having a grand time. An hour later, the fleet signaled they were ready. The Admiral looked at his guests. "Ready?" Vire gave a hesitant nod. Galfex just clapped the Admiral on the shoulder and said, "Yes, let's continue." With a nod, the Admiral sent the message, "Proceed." Then silence. Everyone on the bridge held their breath, waiting. A few tense minutes passed before Vire, the sensor officer, broke the quiet. "Sir, we have asteroids approaching the test range." Galfex, the second in command, turned to the Admiral, his brow furrowed with concern. "We should warn the fleet." The Admiral just smiled, a knowing glint in his eyes. "Yes, I'm sure they already know." Galfex nodded, though confusion was written all over his face. The number of asteroid contacts on Vire's screen began to multiply rapidly. But something was wrong. They were individual rocks, yet they moved together in a perfect uniform pattern. Vire ran detailed scans, but the data made no sense. He looked up at his superiors, baffled. They should be coming into visual range ... now. Galfex leaned forward, eager to see the famed human fleet. But as he looked out the viewport, his excitement turned to confusion. He glanced at his subordinate, Vire. "Vire, where is the fleet? All I see are flying rocks. This isn't very interesting at all." Vire looked at Galfex, his expression a mix of frustration and awe. "Sir ... the fleet is the flying rocks." Galfex paused, processing this. "Huh. Yes, of course. They must have attached asteroids to the sides of their ships. That's the only logical explanation." He laughed. "Preposterous. No one in galactic history has ever done that. It's far too dangerous." Vire practically shouted, "Sir, this is the humans. When have they ever done anything cautiously? They throw the rule book out the window and caution to the wind. It's always a wing and a prayer with them." Galfex fell silent, turning back to the window just as the massive rocky ships began to glide past. Galfex squinted, trying to peer past the rocks on the screen. Suddenly, a cold chill shot down his spine. He stared at the Admiral in absolute disbelief. The Admiral just stood there, a smug smile plastered on his face. Vire, standing nearby, was also glaring at the Admiral. The room fell silent. Then Vire shattered the quiet. "I quit," he yelled, dropping his tablet device with a clatter. Galfex didn't even notice. He was still reeling from what he'd seen. "How ... why?" he managed to ask the Admiral. The Admiral's reply was chillingly simple. "We must plan for every contingency. We adapt and overcome all potential threats." Galfex stumbled back against the wall, sliding down to the floor. He started mumbling, "I hate those words, adapt and overcome. I hate them." Then he shouted, "Vire, help me up." The Admiral chuckled. "Well, I think your little buddy quit on you. He's gone." Galfex scrambled to his feet, still dazed. The human Admiral stood before him, looking expectant. "So, did we pass?" he asked. Galfex stared back, completely confused. "Past what?" The Admiral elaborated. "The test. Did we pass the test?" Galfex couldn't believe what he was hearing. "A test? We just wanted to scan your planet and its life forms. That's it. There was no test." The Admiral simply shrugged his shoulders. "Oh, well, thanks for coming by. We should do this again sometime." Shaking his head in disbelief, Galfex replied firmly, "No, we shouldn't. No, we really shouldn't." He then turned and walked out of the room, desperate to find Vire, get back to their ship, and leave this bizarre solar system far, far behind. A distress call crackles through the void. The USS Bull Valley, an Earth Space Force patrol ship, picks it up loud and clear. Commander Jake acknowledges it immediately. Just then his navigational officer points out, "Sir, a Helian Council ship is closer." The commander sighs, a knowing look on his face. Yes, they're closer, but they'll wait for orders while that research vessel gets torn apart. We won't. The Bull Valley might look like a simple patrol craft, but she's got a secret. She was recently retrofitted with a powerful Prothean core and reinforced with heavier armor. Full burn to those coordinates. The commander orders. The ship lurches forward, engines blazing. While the Helians debated, the Bull Valley arrived on the scene. "Sir, 2 unknown hostiles attacking a vermiculon research ship." The nav officer shouts, "Scan their weapons," Jake commands. The results flash on the screen. Inconclusive. They were flying in blind. Attention, unidentified vessels. This is the Earth Space Force patrol vessel, USS Bull Valley. You are in protected Earth space, attacking a research vessel from the Helian Council. Disengage your attack and leave the system immediately. The communications officer turned to the commander, shrugging his shoulders. "No answer, sir. They're still pressing the attack." A grim look crossed the commander's face. Okay, they had their chance. Tactical, weapons hot, weapons free. "What weapons should we use, sir?" the tactical officer asked. The commander's gaze was fixed on the main view screen. "Everything. Take that lead ship out. Make it into stardust." "Yes, sir. Weapons free." "Fire!" A low hum vibrated through the ship. Outside, a storm of bright lights erupted from the small patrol vessel, streaking across the blackness of space to strike the unknown ships with overwhelming force. The lead attacking ship erupted in a blinding flash of light, a brilliant, silent explosion. Suddenly, the Bull Valley found itself the new focus of the remaining unknown vessel. Abandoning the vermiculus, the enemy ship turned and raced towards us. Both my navigation and tactical officers yelled at once, "Sir, it's coming right for us." I just smiled. "Good," I said. "Let's play a little cat and mouse." I ordered a full turnabout and set a course for the asteroid belt. Navigation plotted it instantly, and the Bull Valley pivoted, diving straight into the rocky chaos. The mysterious ship followed, hot on our tail. We weaved through the massive asteroids, a deadly dance in the void. What they didn't know was that with every turn, we were dropping proximity mines. Finally, we shook them. "Hard about," I commanded. The Bull Valley spun on a dime. The hunt was over. Now we were the hunters. The lead attacking ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Suddenly, the Bull Valley found itself the new target. The other unknown vessel abandoned its attack on the vermiculous ship and hurtled straight for us. My navigation and tactical officers both screamed, "Sir, it's coming right for us." I just smiled. "Good," I said. "Let's play a little cat and mouse." I ordered a hard turnabout, straight for the asteroid belt. Navigation plotted the course instantly, and the Bull Valley pivoted, plunging into the dense field of rock and ice. The mysterious ship followed right on our tail. We weaved and dodged, a deadly dance between the asteroids. But they didn't know our little secret. We were dropping proximity mines along our path. Finally, we lost them in the chaos. "Hard about," I commanded. The Bull Valley spun around, silent and deadly. The hunt was over. Now we were the hunters. Within minutes, the Bull Valley closed the distance on the mysterious ship. The commander's voice was firm. "Start scanning that vessel." The science officer responded quickly. "Sir, scans complete." "Good," the commander said. "Let's take this thing out and render assistance." The tactical officer cut in. "Sir, we have a firing solution." The commander's reply was immediate. "Good. Fire at will." A massive belt of weapons fire erupted from the Bull Valley, striking the strange ship and causing visible damage. But just as quickly, the vessel swung around a massive asteroid and vanished. The admiral demanded to know where it went, but the tactical officer had no answer. The asteroids were creating too much interference. The commander ordered all hands to keep their eyes peeled and scrambled the Alert 5 fighters. "Get them launched," he commanded. "Help us find this ghost." Suddenly, the mysterious ship appeared, materializing from the shadows right behind the Bull Valley. Without warning, it opened fire. Several shots slammed into the Bull Valley's hull, and alarms shrieked across the bridge. The tactical officer was in chaos, yelling he couldn't get a lock on the attacker's position. A frantic voice crackled over the comms from a fighter pilot. "They're behind us. The ship is right behind us." The commander made a split-second decision. "Get us into the proximity mines." Now, navigation scrambled, plotting a desperate course straight into the minefield. The commander ordered all fighters to clear the blast zone immediately. Moments after the last fighter exited the asteroid belt, a blindingly bright blue light erupted from within. The Kaig frantically hailed the Bull Valley, but there was only silence. He tried again and again, but the comms remained dead. One pilot pleaded, "Can we go in?" "We have to look for them." The Kaig's voice was grim. "Negative. The asteroids could be gravitationally unstable. We wait." The frustrated pilots agreed. They stayed out, circling the asteroid belt, their patience wearing thin. Suddenly, a small crackle broke the silence over the comms. The Bull Valley emerged from the dust and rock, a welcome sight. The Kaig hailed them again. This time, the commander answered, blaming interference from the asteroids and recent explosions. With a sigh of relief, he ordered the fighters to land back aboard the Bull Valley. Once the last fighter was secured, the commander turned to his navigation officer. "Plot a course to the vermiculous ship," he commanded. The officer acknowledged, his fingers already flying across the console. As they warped toward their destination, the comms officer tried hailing the vermiculous vessel, but there was only silence. "Marines, to your transports. Launch when we're in range." The order sent a wave of controlled chaos through the ship as everyone scrambled to their stations. Marines sprinted to their transports, loading up for the fight ahead. The commander gave the order, "Launch the transports and head to the vermiculous ship to find survivors." As our ships departed, the Helios Council vessel finally warped in. Their captain's voice boomed over the comms, ordering the Bull Valley to stand down. He declared the vermiculous ship was now under Helios protection. Our commander didn't back down. "Where were you when they were being attacked?" he shot back. "You were the closest ship, yet we came from the farthest sector to help. We fought and destroyed those attackers, and now we're starting a rescue." The Helios captain threatened to open fire, but then a new voice cut through the tension, the vermiculous captain. "Do not fire on the humans," he said, his voice strained. "They saved us." "Commander of the Earth vessel, you have my permission to dock. Please help us." Thank you for watching, and subscribe for more stories. Phantom Static, where the phantoms speak through the static.